Coming up next after the record, we've got a man who was so badly injured in a motorbike accident that he lost his arm, and he'll talk to us after Creedence Clearwater Revival. Thank you for your messages this afternoon. Hi to Daz, who's tweeted to say, I'd love a motorbike, Kazza. I have wanted to have one since I was a kid, but I don't think I would let my daughter have one, though. So you want one, but not your children. Listen, you can tweet me. It's at Kazza Talk Martin, at Kazza Talk Martin. And Stephen Robinson is on the phone now. Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Caroline.
Nice to chat to you, Stephen. So tell us your story then.
Well, it's an interesting story, but I basically lost my right arm on a motorbike at the age of 18, and I used to do motocrossing and trials riding. So I was always on the rough, not on the road. So I felt it was really safe off road, and because I believe that accidents are only caused by stupid people or other people or traffic. So I thought I was quite safe on the fields and riding my motorbike, but unknown to me, two other people were on the field at the same time, so there was traffic there without me knowing. And these two guys were racing each other. One of them must have seen me. I was at the top of a blind hill, couldn't see down the hill, and I guess these guys didn't know I was there, but one of them must have done. So he stopped racing. The other guy tried to do a jump over the top of me, and of course he couldn't make the jump, and he landed on top of me, and his foot peg ripped my right arm off there and then. And the bike then went into my chest and caused loads and loads of internal injuries.
Oh, my goodness, Stephen. That is hideous. So you go somewhere where you think, actually, I'm okay here, I'm safe, and then that happens. What do you remember about it?
Well, fortunately, I don't remember anything, really. I remember being on the field and going down one of the hills towards the blind hill. And after that, I don't remember anything. So all I really have is second-hand knowledge that people have said, well, this happened, that happened. I sort of have a vague recollection of little things, but none of it makes any sense, really. So I'm quite fortunate that I've lost my memory due to that time. But I did lose a lot of memory prior to that accident as well. So my memory prior to the accident is a little bit strange. I remember some things and other things I don't remember. So it's like I've had two lives in one lifetime.
And what was the recovery like from that? How long did it take you to recover from that physically, and mentally as well?
Well, mentally I was fine. You know, I didn't realise I was so mentally strong, and you do realise that you are when you have accidents like this. And so I was always okay with the fact that I lost a right arm, because at the same time, because I'd been in hospital and they'd given me loads and loads of drugs for antibiotics and kill infection, all my acne had gone. And I was only an 18-year-old kid and I had really bad acne. So when I saw for the first time that I'd lost my right arm, I also noticed that all my acne had gone, and I was overjoyed. So,
talk about taking a positive from a negative there. You've taken it to another level, Stephen.
I was just so happy. You know, my acne had gone. It didn't really matter that I'd lost an arm. It was a bit of an inconvenience. But I was always okay with the fact that I'd lost a right arm. I was more upset when I got home and I saw the state of my motorbike. It was so badly damaged. In actual fact, I was more damaged than the motorbike, but I was upset that my motorbike was damaged. And with regards to the recovery period, I was in a coma for 2 weeks, and I woke up, and it was during the time of the Falklands War, and I remember there was a fly past in Leeds, and I thought that they'd moved me to the local airport. I was hallucinating because of the drugs I was on. But to be honest with you, I should have been in hospital for 12 months, but I came out in 3 weeks.
How?
Well, it was one of those situations where the nurses and the doctors said to me, we can't let you out, Stephen, until you can dress yourself and put your socks on and do everything with one hand. So as soon as I woke up, I started practicing to dress myself with one hand and learning new techniques to do all these things. They also said to me, we won't let you home, Steve, until you can walk the length of the ward. But that was a big task for a guy that used to weigh 12 stone at the age of 18 and had gone down to 5.5 stone.
Goodness.
So I was so weak, but I kept practicing and practicing. And inside a week, I managed to walk up and down the ward and dress myself. So the nurses and the doctors had no option but to let me go home because I'd fulfilled what they said I had to do. So I was home in 3 weeks, but in all honesty, I really should have been in hospital for 12 months.
And what has it prevented you doing? There's got to be things that you can't do now because you have one arm.
Nothing. In actual fact, it's not preventing me doing anything. You know, hitting a nail with a hammer is quite tricky. But then, there's ways around it, because what you do is you push the nail into the wood really hard or firm so it just stands there, and then you hit it with an hammer. So everything you can do. I've found that I've done so much with one arm that I would have never done with two arms. I had a total personality change and a different outlook on life. I guess I really appreciated life after I'd nearly lost it. So I decided that nothing would hold me back, and I would do absolutely everything. And of course, because all my job opportunities had gone, I now had to try and find something that I could do one-handed, and I'd never trained to be a one-handed guy. I'd always had two arms, so it never even come into my thought that I would have one arm at some point in my life.
So what did you end up doing?
Well, I ended up doing everything. I was a DJ, I was a karaoke compere, I was a break dancer. I then got involved with vintage jukeboxes and vintage one-arm bandits. I know that's a bit of a pun, but it's not really. I do restore vintage one-arm bandits and vintage jukeboxes. I then went to night school because my education had really suffered, and I exhausted all the night school classes, so I decided at the age of 34 to go to university. I left university with a first-class honours degree in computer science, and during that process I developed and invented a digital jukebox that revolutionised the digital jukebox industry, that earned me a fortune of money, that I bought houses and became a residential landlord. I was then in litigation when somebody stole my copyright. After hellish 6 years, I was at the end of my tether and suicidal due to all the death threats and problems I had in the litigation, that I decided to apply for a flying scholarship by a charity called Flying Scholarship for Disabled People. I was awarded a flying scholarship by Prince Faisal of Jordan and Sir Stephen Dalton, who was the Chief Air Marshal of the RAF back in 2014. I then started flight training, but the prosthetic arm the NHS made didn't work, and it took them a year to make Mark 1. It took them a year to make Mark 2, and that didn't work either. So I made my own prosthetic arm, and I took flight training with my homemade prosthetic arm, and now I'm a private pilot.
Do you know what? You're amazing.
That is incredible, really, isn't it?
What you've achieved, and goodness gracious me. Do you think, this seems like an odd question to ask, do you think you'd have had that drive, you'd have had that ambition, you'd have had that get up and go if that accident hadn't have happened?
I can answer that really quickly and easily, and no, I wouldn't have had this get up and go. I've been asked that question a lot of times, would you have done the same things if you had two arms? And I'm sure I wouldn't. I needed the personality change, and I needed the kick up the arse to get me going. And it was a bit of a severe kick up the arse, was having an arm ripped off. But it did the task, and it did the job, and it really made me focus on my future and made me get out there. Really, I was just enjoying myself. I just wanted to enjoy my life, thinking there's no point wasting it. I was just fortunate and lucky. I feel like I'm a really lucky guy. A lot of people would think that I'm unlucky losing an arm. I feel really lucky because I don't feel like I'm unlucky to lose an arm, but I feel like I'm lucky to be alive.
Well, I tell you what, you're certainly an inspiration to anybody listening this afternoon that wants to that bit of get up and go. What happened to the guy that was at that?
The other guy.
Yeah.
He sprained his wrist.
Oh my days!
I know, it's absolutely crazy. And one guy loses an arm in his life almost, and the other guy sprained his wrist. It's a crazy incident, really. Just a freak accident. It wasn't deliberate. I don't hold any animosity towards him. It wasn't his fault. He didn't really. I'm sure he didn't mean to do it. It's just one of those things, and you've got to get on, and you've got to forgive, and you've got to move on.
Well, do you know what? You've done amazingly, Stephen, and what an inspiration you've been talking to you this afternoon. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. That's Stephen Robertson. Well, wow. Just one word, wow. We're talking motorbikes this afternoon. I want to talk to you, if you've got one. Do you feel truly safe on the road? Would you be happy if your son or your daughter decided that they wanted to have a bike? And do you think that there's a prejudice against motorcyclists in this country? 03453 009956. That's 03.